to VAFA Tragics. Andrew Leonard with you, and I'm only joined by Brenton Mann today. Brenton, good evening.
Good evening, Andrew. There's a lot more room on the desk this evening.
A lot more room on the desk. I'd say that the better looking two of the Tragics left behind.
Oh, that's no doubt. No, there's no question about that. We've got Fitzy, God knows where Fitzy is, and Marty stuck at a meeting, but I think we'll do all right, you and I.
I think we'll do very well. Looking forward to doing the show. I'm not sure where the other two are. Maybe they're gone. Maybe they're never to return. But I'll tell you what did return on the weekend. It was football in the VAFA. William Buck Premier section was back after a 2-week hiatus, as was all of the other Premier sections as well. And divisions only had a 1-week break. How'd you go with the break?
I enjoyed it very much, Lee, but it is tough coming off a bye. Momentum gets halted and it's tough to find your feet again.
We'll talk about St John's later on the show. Some great results on the weekend for all clubs, really, particularly some of those clubs that hadn't had a win. So South Melbourne District supporters, PEG supporters, stick around. We'll get to you as the show progresses. But first, starting off in William Buck Premier, Old Zaverians, they're back in the fore after a big win over Collegians, and it was a comprehensive display in the end as they put their foot down in the third term to kick away from Collegians. Matt Hadley, again the star after his Big V rep duties, couldn't get the win there as he was skippering the side against the AFL Vic Country, but he got the win for Zavs with 5 goals on the board for his side in the red and blacks, and they're back in the four, which is a great result for Zavs.
It certainly is, and it will be interesting 5 to 6 weeks coming up to see if they can hold their position, with Blues and Blacks also fighting for that 4th spot. But yeah, Chopper Handley with his biggest bag of the year just led from the front.
Collegians goalless in that third quarter, which was when the game was won as Zavs stepped clear. De La Salle and Old Scotch. This was a massive game in the context of both clubs' seasons, and it was De La Salle, the home side, who won a 3rd straight game for the year as they've recovered now to move out of the relegation places for the first time. And as we have a look at some of the footage, De La Salle made their move in the second quarter with a 7-goal term there, Brenton.
Yes, 7-goal term.
They were outstanding, but the third quarter, I guess, is the interesting one here because they probably the errors that both sides were putting as a sign of where they're both at, struggling at this time of the year, despite De La Salle getting the win in the end.
Yeah, it certainly was. And De La Salle, they've been thereabouts this year. They've been they haven't been thrashed at all. They've been in nearly every game they've won, and it's been a great reward for effort. And unfortunately for Old Scotch, it just gets worse every week, doesn't it?
Yeah, they desperately need a win and they need to turn that around. Both De La Salle above on percentage at the moment over Old Scotch. We'll take a look at the ladder, which you can see on the screen there. So De La Salle swapping places with Old Scotch to move up to 8th place on the ladder there. You had a look at St Bernard's and Uni Blues. What did you take out of this game?
I did. It was a very tight, low-scoring affair. St Bernard's held the ascendancy early, but the Blues, they hung tough and were within no more than a couple of kicks throughout the day. But in the last quarter especially, Blues could have snatched this one. They attacked at will in the last quarter. They just simply couldn't find a target inside 50. Both sides' backlines were resolute in that final term. And unfortunately for Blues, St Bernard's had about 5 inside 50s in that last quarter, but banked 2 goals, and that was enough to get them over the line.
Blues season is still not over just yet. They're still in the mix, but they just need to get some more wins on the board. So they'll be still keen and focusing on maybe getting into that 4th spot if they can.
They were good enough to beat St Bernard's on the weekend, but unfortunately errors by hand and foot let them down. There was no clean ball. There was no easy ball out there on the weekend. There was a very high pressure game, very scrappy affair at the Snake Pit. The turf wicket in the middle made it for a very scrappy affair. But yeah, unfortunately for Blues, it's been the story of the year. They just can't land that killer blow in the final term.
I think they've had a number of losses now by sort of that under a kick or about a kick.
It was a similar story against St Bernard's earlier in the year, the Uni. So they'll be ruining those losses, I think.
Old Carey and Beaumaris. Old Carey put this game to bed in the first half, really, with a dominant opening half display, 14 goals to 2. After half-time, it was a bit of a scrap. So Old Carey would be very happy with their ability to win a game that they were probably expected to win. Julian Rowe, 4 goals for the Panthers as they continue on their merry way. And really, I think that's locked them in for a 3rd spot, or at least locked them in for finals. And one thing, they're 7.5 wins now. They can't be relegated. So it's a great result for the club coming back up from Premier B.
It certainly is. And I agree with you. I think they're locked in the 3rd spot there. I think Blues, Blacks and Zavs will fight at that 4th spot. But is their best good enough to knock off Old Trinity and St Bernard's in the latter half of the year?
Yeah, well, that'll come into a personnel question. I know that they've lost a couple of guys who've gone overseas, and
it's a bugbear of mine.
And
it really is.
That's going to hurt them, that's for sure. The other game, Old Trinity and Uni Blacks, and Old Trinity, of course, Blacks, they started their run when they beat Old Trinity out at the Daily Oval earlier in the year, but Trinity went to the Uni Oval this time round and got the points against Blacks.
This was a great game of footy too. It was high quality. Blacks went in with a game plan of denying Old Trinity the football. They played a high possession. They were very patient and controlled with the football, really trying to cut down Old Trinity. They love to run and spread with hands through the corridor, but unfortunately for Blacks, turnovers cost them and Old Trinity pounced, especially in the third term, and Old Trinity, they look very, very good.
The absence of Beedman feels like it's hurting Blacks at the moment. They've lost games that they've got on that bit of a run, and Beedman's broken his wrist, and I'm not sure when he's back or if indeed he'll make it back for the rest of the year, but he seems to be a big loss. We
definitely spoke about it during the year. Injuries to key players and the inability of sides to cover those players, it could really cost Blacks. They're going to be in a dogfight for that fourth spot.
Moving on to Premier B, it's business as usual for St Kevin's. The break didn't seem to affect them as they stormed over another big win over Old Melburnians. Old Melburnians were second going into this game. They're back down to fourth now as Scobs went on their merry way, winning a 12th straight game. They're almost untouchable, aren't they?
They certainly are. And as you said, first, second, and they just went on their merry way. The juggernaut just keeps rolling on, and they are dictating where the other three sides in the top four sit, because whenever they play the second, third or fourth side, the spots change, and it's going to be tough for either St Bede's, Mentone Tigers, Old Melburnians and Old Brighton to get over St Kevin's this year.
Well, the key part about it in Premier B is now you've got St Bede's, Mentone, Old Brighton and Old Melburnians.
Yes.
They're all fighting for that double chance for a first crack at St Kevin's in that final now, it seems like. And so those losses against St Kevin's, the scale of the losses and, of course, how they play against the other sides. And it's going to be an interesting section in Premier B because if we look down to the relegation places, there's 3 or 4 teams there that need to win games late in the season, and they're going to come up against those top sides. Fascinating battle that's going to take place because that double chance could mean everything. It's your chance to maybe test St Kevin's in finals. We know what their record's been like in recent years. Or, alternatively, at least get a second chance to have a preliminary final attempt, and that gets you through to William Buck Premier the following year.
These final 5 or 6 weeks of the year, it's really exciting with the relegation and promotion because you've got sides that are fighting to get out of the relegation zone that can really shape the 4. And also you've got sides fighting to get into that 4, so it's going to be an exciting 5 or 6 weeks.
There's a 2-game gap now that's opened up in Premier League with the bottom 3 sides, Parkdale Vultures, Mazenod and Caulfield Grammarians, all 2 games from the teams above them. So you'd suggest at this stage at least that it's out of those 3 sides. 2 of those 3 will go down. Parkdale and Mazenod both on 3 wins with Caulfield Grammarians on 2 wins. Caulfield suffered a big loss at the hands of Fitzroy on the weekend, so not good signs for them. But it will be interesting to see what happens in the final few weeks of the year.
It certainly will.
Premier C, Pegs, congratulations. If you're a Bombers fan, it was a fantastic scenes down all the way down the highway at Peninsula, Mount Eliza. The Pirates, at the same time as they went down to Pegs, giving Pegs their first win of the season, also, I'd say, blew their finals chances.
Oh, yeah, their final chances are shot. I wonder if Pegs just chartered a chopper from Essendon Airport, as did Bronwyn Bishop.
Might have to ask Bronwyn about that.
She might have foot the bill.
Wouldn't be a bad shopper to be on, the one from Mount Eliza back to Essendon or Keilor.
Especially when you get the points.
Yeah, exactly right. Would have been a great trip home, and one worthwhile. Those road trips is what the VAFA is all about. So congratulations to everyone at Pegs on your first win of the season. Brenton, there were some great results in Division 1 as well, and probably Ogs was the highlight out of that section.
They could be the smoky in Division 1. Yeah, getting over Q, their Q's first loss of the year, which I guess they wouldn't be too disappointed with. As we say, you don't really want to go through the whole season undefeated. I think you get a false sense of security. But the Como Park would have been rocking on Saturday night. Yeah, and the other one in Division 1, which I'm fascinated at how this happened, the weeks by for St Mary Salesian, they're back at home at Ferndale Park. Yet Whitefriars turn up and roll them by 91 points. I don't think St Mary's would have had a loss like that at home for a long time. Not that I can recall, and they're generally an attacking juggernaut at their home ground. It's just like a cake in that ground, but it's their fortress. But the Friars, no one saw that one coming. 91 points loss, and I think they might have a tough week on the track this week. They might indeed. In Division 2, you can tell us all about this section. Your side, St John's, travelled up to the Garvey Oval at Paradians, and after setting the world on fire, you said it on this show on the Tragics earlier, a few weeks ago, that you're having a bit of a mid-season lull. Teams not doing all the team things that you were doing earlier in the year. What's happened? You've had another loss. We've had injuries to key personnel, but you can't blame that. The system at the moment is we're not firing on all cylinders, and as he said, we're not doing those little things well that we were doing at the start of the year. And Paradians had a distinct game plan of denying us the football, and we just couldn't get our hands on the football. And when we did, we turned it over. So you can't win games of footy when you consistently turn the football over. But as you said, we're having a bit of a lull. We're gone 2-3 in the last 5 weeks, but we're still holding second spot, and we want to play our best footy at the end of the year, not necessarily in the middle. So hopefully we can recapture that form.
Another team that had a bit of a lull was surprisingly Ivanhoe going down to Melbourne High School Old Boys. Ivanhoe have just been dominating side of the whole season, really, with just the one loss to date before this weekend. But Melbourne High School turned that result on its head.
They certainly did, and they haven't been. They've had a pretty good month, Melbourne High. They're quite plucky. They're quite patchy. On their day, they're good enough, but they probably don't show that consistently enough. And it's been a great year for them. They'll consolidate their spot in Div 2, and maybe next year have a real crack at it.
And the story of the round, no doubt, was South Melbourne Districts getting their first win of the year in Division 2 over Elstonwick. As we know, the districts, we've highlighted them a few times on this show throughout the season, have had some horrendous losses this year, but to come back after the break, probably finally got a few guys back from injury, and they've had an absolute great result over Elstonwick, and there's nothing like a win to get everyone's morale at the club up and going.
They have been thereabouts probably the last 3 weeks, but haven't been getting the points, but it's an absolutely great reward for effort for the guys, and they might still be partying as we speak.
Let's hope not. There were some other great results throughout all of the sections. Canterbury keep winning in Division 4, as do Emmaus St Leo's in Division 3. So still a couple of chances for teams to go through as champion teams and go undefeated throughout the season. But now it's time to take a look at Good Day, Bad Day. Because you had a bad day. Right, Brenton. I was going to say, normally we throw to Marty.
Yeah, normally Marty, he's not here.
The desk. No, he's not here, and he might be. He's not.
No, he's not under there. No,
not under the table. That's all right. I thought he might have just, been. He still might have.
He's still got the yellow page that he stands on here. So
yeah, exactly right. No, Marty's not there. So Brenton, you better kick us off with Good Day, Bad Day.
Good day for me was, as we said, South Melbourne Districts, and also I'm going to throw Melbourne High in there as well. So South Melbourne Districts for their first win of the year, and Melbourne High toppling the top of the table. Ivanhoe at home, so yeah, and bad day for me. I have it here. Old Ivanhoe for me. In the last 2 weeks, they've gone from first to third, and they suffered an 11-goal loss to the fourth place Old Haileybury. So, and I got an honourable mention. So Marsland, they beat Crushers by 52 points, and they lose their top spot to Monash Blues, who beat Old Camberwell by 97 points.
That's a great bad day. Bad day for Marsland when you've won by 10 goals and you're losing top spot. That is a tough break. My good day, no doubt, Pegs beating Peninsula. Fantastic result. Really happy. Always great to see a side get their first win of the year. And at the same time, ending the Pirates' finals hopes, which we said as well. They're 3 games out of the 4 now, and it's going to be really tough for Peninsula after they started the season so well. Bad day for me is Q losing their first game of the year, and as we said, I always like to see if we can get a team going through the season undefeated, but not on this occasion with Q. Brenton, I would ask you, have you got any wines at all?
Have I got any wines?
Got 5 points you want to make quickly?
No 5 points. No, I had a few wines on the weekend, but I've got nothing to complain about.
Is that what you do in your weekend off?
Oh yeah, I had a couple of nice Shiraz, and yeah, so it was very nice. It was very cold.
Probably a Tabilk or something like that.
It was certainly a Tabilk Shiraz for sure.
Brenton, it's been fun. I reckon this is probably the way it should be.
Yeah, I think it's been short and sharp.
I can't see any reason why we wouldn't continue with just the 2 of us. Maybe the viewers at home will tell us. Hope you've enjoyed this week's edition of VAFA Tragics. We'll see you again soon.
VAFA TV at vafatv.com.